right? Like
Yep.
how do we want to show up for our client? And yes, there are some forms, some information that we just have to gain because, either the board says or those who may be licensing, like licensed in some states, like the Board of Medicine says, or your state says, or federal says, or
Yep.
the
Funder.
funder says, right? There's some of those things, and so part of that might be match like your values and your mission, because like you want to align, you want to make sure that your part of quality services is like knowing what's expected or what
Yes.
what's needed and following those to the T. And so, yeah, so there's that. But then also, how can you show up and through those client processes, whether it's the intake process, the, you know, training, like showing up, supporting the parents, the guardians, how your treatment plans and assessments and all of that, like all of the things that come into the client processes, especially I would say intake, but definitely ongoing as well. How are you going to show up with your values and missions through that? Like how, like, I kind of think about like, wouldn't it be neat if you showed up to like a new family and you did the intake process and you worked with them for like maybe 6 months, right? And then and maybe you never shared your values with them or your mission statement, and then you like gave them like a questionnaire or something and asked them like, what do you think, circle the things that what you think are
Our
what we
values
for
are.
our values are, how
Right.
what our mission is, and see if it aligns. I don't know that you can necessarily do that
Sure.
because like ethics and stuff like that, but still like that would be kind of a neat thing. So I guess you could kind of like think of it that way.
I
Like
mean, you
how
can
can I
still share your values and ask
oh
them,
I
do
yeah.
you think we meet our values? Right.
Right,
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
that, but then you like bias them. But like, but I'm just wondering, like, can someone be like, man, they value kindness, or they value communication, or they whatever, right? And so, anyways, but
Right. And the other thing, just going back to values and mission statement again, but this may be a good place as you building out your client processes. Who do we work with? Right? Are we working with teenagers, or are we only working with 2 to 8 year old? Like, and what if we get a 15-year-old that maybe kind of outside of the scope that we have? Are we gonna take them? Or are we not? Right. So again, having your values, mission statement, your quality policy may help you determine those things that are just on the line, right? Of I don't know if we should do this or not. Well, let's check in with our quality policy, or let's check in with our values and mission statement. So because we want to know who we work with, right? And again, many BCBAs starting their practice, they kind of know who they're going to work with, but then they hire someone because, well, I need somebody right now. They're pretty good, but they work with a different set of individuals. And now, okay, I guess we're going to take these on now. So, like, again, this is going to help you determine your hiring process. This is going to help you determine, are we going to refer this child out for other services, right? So it's just really important, again, to have that framework, that foundation that will then help you determine the processes for your clients. How quickly are you going to respond to a new client intake? What are you going to do if you have to put them on the wait list? Now, your funders require that you respond to them in a certain amount of time, right? Every funder is different, but it's typically no more than 2 business days. You have to reach out to them. So, but I would check with your provider manuals, always changing. You should have a process, and that's one of your quality inputs is your funder requirements, right? Which will then determine how you change your policies. Knowing how quickly you're going to respond to a new client intake, how you're going to respond, who is going to respond, right? I think, I don't know when this podcast is going to drop, but we talked to Reese Epstein about taking those leads, I guess is what they're called. So, using Facebook or Google ads and getting leads and having people fill out the, reach out to us form or whatever you want to call it. But who's going to respond to those? Is it going to be somebody that's maybe cold and off-putting, or is it gonna be somebody that's bubbly and personable and knows ABA and cares about the quality of services, and that just loves working with families? And because those are two different people. That maybe that cold introvert, which is probably me most of the time, is sitting in the back sending out invoices and doing billing, but they're not the person that is on the phone talking to the desperate parent that needs services now, right? Maybe they just can't empathize to the same degree that you would want them to empathize, right? So that's going to determine, okay, who is the face of this company, right? So those are just important things as you develop those processes. Does that make sense? Another one that in your client processes, you're gonna have complaints. It's gonna happen. So how do you may in the client handbook have a complaint process? So you email this person, you fill out this form, you call this number. But man, am I that boring? But like, how are you as a company going to respond to that complaint? And what if they don't like your response? What is there an appeal process? How are you going to handle this? And again, how do we want to manage these complaints? And there are going to be some complaints that you're going to be like, man, okay, not this again. We're not doing it. We're doing it this way. But there's going to be a lot of legitimate complaints. There just is. You're dealing with people like more than any probably other company has to deal with people, right? Like IT, they just have to run a program. There's no people really face to face, right? But it's just people. It's people managing people, right? And so it's different. There's going to be conflict. It's going to be drama. And so how do you manage that the way that you want to manage it on your best day, not your worst day, right? And having your values and mission statement and quality policy, well, help you determine that. Oh yeah, this person has called me 15 times in the last 3 days. How do I want to approach this? Look at my values, right? So having those things will help with this.